sit still for a moment. Not distracted, not half in, half out. Sit still the way a person sits when they know something important is coming, something they cannot afford to ignore anymore. There are times in your life where you do not get soft warnings. You get truth. You get reality. You get a message that does not care about your comfort. It cares about your transformation. This is one of those moments, because your journey as a trader, your ability to grow, your chance to build the life you say you want. All of it begins with one skill that you have never taken seriously enough: protecting the money pot. This is the foundation. This is the backbone. This is the one habit that reveals everything about your discipline, your identity, your emotional control, and your future. Nothing works until this works. You think the money pot is just your account balance, but it is more than that. It is the story of who you are under pressure. It is the record of how often you keep promises to yourself and how often you break them. Every green day tells one story. Every blown trade tells another. Protecting the money pot is the clearest mirror you will ever look into, because it is brutal, it is honest, and it never lies. Your money pot shows your patience. It shows your fear. It shows your greed. It shows your maturity. It shows your emotional tolerance. It shows whether you act out of discipline or out of desperation. Every decision leaves evidence, and deep down, you know exactly what kind of evidence you have been leaving behind. When you protect your capital, you build a version of yourself that knows how to stay in the game long enough to improve. When you fail to protect it, you create a version of yourself that constantly starts over, constantly apologizes to themselves, and constantly wonders why they cannot get ahead. This is not about money. This is about identity, and your identity has been bleeding. Let us talk about the part that stings. You do not blow up trades because the market is cruel. You blow them up because your emotions have been running the show. You trade to escape discomfort. You trade to escape silence. You trade to escape your own thoughts. There are moments where you know you should wait, but the waiting feels unbearable. So you convince yourself that action is the answer. There are moments where you know the stop should stay where you placed it, but watching price get close to it triggers a panic you are not ready to face. So you move it, you widen it, you delay it, and you tell yourself it is just this once, even though you know it never is. You do not sabotage the money pot because you do not understand strategy. You sabotage it because you do not yet know how to handle the emotional pressure of sitting through a plan. And the part that hits the hardest is this. Every time you break discipline, you feel the disappointment immediately. Not after the loss, not when the chart moves against you. You feel it in the moment you break your own rule. It is that fast, that sharp, that real. You watch yourself abandon the person you are trying to become, and you feel yourself fall right back into the patterns you promised you would outgrow. That pain is not financial. It is personal. It is psychological. It is the kind of pain that makes you question your capability. And it is the pain that tells you exactly what needs to change. There comes a point in your journey where you get tired of your own chaos, tired of the emotional swings, tired of the guilt, tired of the impulse, tired of the shame after the mistake. You get tired of repeating the same cycle. Lose control, lose money, lose confidence, try to make it back, repeat. And then something inside you finally snaps. Not in a reckless way, in a disciplined way. You stop chasing dopamine. You stop trading for excitement. You stop treating the market like a place to escape your feelings. You begin to breathe before you act. You begin to wait without needing reward. You begin to hold your rules like they mean something. Protecting the money pot becomes more than a tactic. It becomes the proof that you are done living like the weaker version of yourself. It becomes the sign that you are stepping into the trader you were meant to be. And you feel the shift. You feel the calm. You feel the control. You feel the confidence that comes from knowing you stuck to your plan even when it was uncomfortable. This is where discipline becomes natural. This is where emotional maturity becomes strength. This is where your trading stops being chaos and starts becoming skill. There is a silent price you pay every time you disrespect your money pot, and that price is your self-trust. You lose more than dollars. You lose belief. You lose momentum. You lose your sense of control. You start doubting yourself in ways that bleed into every part of the chart. You hesitate on real setups. You overreact to small moves. You rush entries because your mind is trying to escape fear. A trader who does not protect their capital becomes a trader who cannot trust their own judgment. And a trader who cannot trust themselves cannot build consistency. This is not a game you can brute force with emotion. This is a game that punishes emotional shortcuts ruthlessly. Every time you trade out of fear or boredom, your identity weakens. Every time you protect your capital with real discipline, your identity strengthens. This is why protecting the money pot is not optional. It is survival. You need to understand the internal war that forms inside every trader. You want growth, but you fear discomfort. You want discipline, but you avoid boredom. You want structure, but you chase emotion. This is identity friction. It is the fight between who you have been and who you are trying to become. You feel the pull of your old habits, the impulsive version of you, the emotionally reactive version of you, the version that cannot sit through silence without reaching for a trade. But inside you is also the new version, the version with clarity, the version that can wait, the version that understands the cost of impatience, the version who finally respects the money pot. Every decision you make is one side fighting the other, and every rule you follow is one victory for the version of you that is trying to rise. Think about the version of you 6 months from now if you commit to this one principle. That version of you walks into each trade with a sense of calm because they no longer gamble their future. That version of you sits through boredom without letting boredom push them into mistakes. That version of you takes trades that actually have structure because they are no longer trying to fill emotional gaps with random entries. That version of you has account growth that feels steady, controlled, intentional. And you know what is different about that future version? They trust themselves. They respect themselves. They act like a trader who knows exactly who they are and where they are going. You are not dreaming of becoming that version. You are building that version through the choices you make at the chart and the discipline you show with your money. Now picture the opposite. Picture the version of you from the past who kept breaking the rules and pretending it was no big deal. The version who said, "It is just one trade. It will come back. I deserve a win." The version who felt the drop in their stomach every time they saw another preventable loss. The version who kept waking up saying, "I am going to do better today," only to repeat the same emotional mistakes. You know exactly how that version thinks. You know exactly how that version feels. You know the pain, the frustration, the embarrassment of watching yourself sabotage your own progress. And you are done with that. You can feel it. You are done being the reason your future gets delayed. Here is the truth you need to accept. When the market gets loud, when fear spikes, when boredom kicks in, when impatience rises, you need a stronger voice inside you than the one that used to destroy your progress. You need the voice that says, "Slow down. Your future matters more than your feelings." You need the voice that says, "Wait, you have nothing to prove." You need the voice that says, "This setup does not deserve your money." You need the voice that says, "Protect the money pot. No exceptions, no emotional shortcuts." This voice is not hype. This voice is not motivation. This voice is leadership. Leadership over yourself. Leadership over your emotions. Leadership over the old version of you that refuses to die quietly. This is the moment in your journey where you stop acting like someone who hopes, and start acting like someone who earns. Discipline is not a punishment. Discipline is the price you pay to become the version of yourself that your old patterns could never create. You protect the money pot because you understand your future is worth protecting. You protect the money pot because you understand that discipline is how you build trust in yourself. You protect the money pot because you know damn well what happens when you trade from emotion instead of clarity. You protect the money pot because your life deserves a version of you who follows through on the things that matter. This is not a technique. This is your identity being rewritten. When this audio ends, your next decision at the chart must come from the new identity, not the impulsive version, not the emotional version, not the version that has been sabotaging your progress for years. The version that knows how to wait, the version that knows how to walk away, the version that knows what discipline costs and what it saves. Protect the money pot. Protect your confidence. Protect your growth. Protect your future. Your trading will reveal who you are. Make sure it reveals the version you intend to become, not the version you left behind.